Hi, this is BritSimon. There really are some big changes coming to the Green Card Lottery. There's a proposal that's being discussed by the government at the moment that would radically change the way the Green Card Lottery operates and would affect the chances for millions of people. So let's talk about that. First of all, just a quick bit of background on the Green Card Lottery to explain what the program is. The Green Card Lottery, which is really called the Diversity Visa Lottery, has been running since the late 80s, around about 30 years. And the current version of the lottery was put into law in 1990. The law was signed by George Bush Sr. And it was widely agreed to give a chance to underrepresented uh, countries, people from underrepresented countries that had low immigrant numbers through the other programs. Around about 50,000 green cards are given out through the diversity visa lottery each year. There's roughly 1 million immigrant visas handed out through other programs each year via family-based sponsorship or employment-based programs. And so, really, only 5% of the visas available to immigrants are coming through the diversity visa lottery. It's relatively small, but it's an important part of the overall immigration program of the United States. The program is supposed to be free and simple to enter and only has two main requirements. One, to be born in an eligible country, and there are definitions of what's an eligible country, but essentially it means countries with low numbers of immigrants coming through the other programs. And any selectee, a principal selectee, a winner, has to meet a minimum education standard or have work experience at a professional level. There are about 15 million entries each year. That accounts for about 22 to 25 million people once you allow for those entries covering family members such as a spouse or children. So it really is a very widely participated in program, and the chances of winning, you can imagine, there are 25 people who enter with 15 million distinct entries, and only 50,000 people are going to end up getting green cards through the green card lottery each year. So the chances of winning are pretty slim, but it's nevertheless an important program. There are some changes being suggested which will radically affect the entries. The first change is to require the petitioner, in other words, the entrant, to include on their entry, on their diversity visa entry, their passport number. It would need to be the passport number of the petitioner only, their unexpired passport with the country of authority of the passport issuance, and the passport expiration date. In other words, you have to have a passport now to enter the lottery. That's the suggestion being made. That's a pretty big deal. It would not apply to the derivatives such as children, but if a husband and wife, for example, wanted to enter, and each one of them wanted to have their own entry, which is fine, which is legal, each one of them would have to have an unexpired passport. There is an exception for people that literally cannot get a passport, but generally speaking, that's a very small number of people that would have that exception. Other than that, the suggestion on the table, the proposal being made right now, is to require the passport from each person entering the lottery. That's a big deal. The other change that is being suggested is really a wording clarification and a requirement of the mandatory disqualification. That's how it's worded in the rules. Mandatory disqualification for failing to provide required information or accurately providing this required information. So name, date of birth, place of birth, and place of birth of any relatives that may accompany the petitioner, and a compliant photo. Now, this also is a pretty big deal. Currently, if somebody has made a mistake on the date of birth, for example, you can change that on the DS-260, and more often than not, the embassies will allow that mistake, that original mistake. The same thing with minor changes for the name. They are fairly realistic, and unless you come from a country where there is high fraud and you've made a mistake on your name, let's say there's a small typo, your name is supposed to be John, but you type in John A or something. Um, in that case, they will generally not worry about that as long as you correct that in the DS-260. The DS-260 is the application for the visa that you make after you've been told you're a winner. So that is another important change. It sounds like they're moving towards more regular and mandatory disqualifications of more of the applicants. Okay, so that's another big deal. So why are they doing these things? Well, they're trying to reduce fraud. That's what they say. They're reducing fraud because right now, today, we know there are agents submitting applications for applicants or for people who are uninvolved in that process, in that application. Some of those agents are doing these things in quite overt ways. There's big websites that every year enter on behalf of people. They make some outrageous suggestions that if you use their service to enter the lottery, they will improve your chances of winning, which is nonsense. They actually reduce your chances of winning if you really understand what's going on. And those agencies will often re-enter the lottery for you year after year, which in itself is a really bad idea. That's very foolish to allow an agency to do that. But other than these very large agencies and websites that do this, there are a number of agents in various smaller countries, perhaps quite common in Africa and common also in Nepal. But in some cases, these agents become quite exploitative of the winners. So they will enter on behalf of a winner. Then when they check the results later, they'll say to the winner, "Okay, you're a winner. Now you have to pay me X amount of dollars or cedis or whatever currency they want in order for me to give you the information about your win. Or you're going to be the winner, but you have to marry this girl here because her father's rich and she wants to go to America." And there is all sorts of exploitation going on of the winners. They're trying to reduce that. That's one thing they're trying to reduce. They're also trying to reduce the number of duplicate entries. So let's say I enter myself as Simon, and perhaps I slightly change my name on the second entry and a third entry, and I change my name, perhaps change my address. I try and exploit the system or get around the system and have multiple entries. In most cases, those multiple entries would be caught today anyway, because the system is pretty smart. But there are people getting through, I'm quite sure. There are people getting through with multiple entries. And insisting on the passport number being in the entry, that would reduce that situation as well. I think another aspect of this is to collect more data. It's quite well known that the data that is being collected in the DV lottery entries is not being deleted at the end of the process. And so America is actually collecting information about people. They've got electronic information about all the people that have entered over the a number of years previously, and they can use that information for security investigations, to check people's authenticity when they make other applications, or perhaps for terrorism counter espionage, as it were. Measures that they could take where having more data is useful to them. So I believe they're probably also trying to collect more valuable data. If they've got everyone's passport numbers, that's also another useful thing to America. If you don't like it, you don't have to participate. I'm not saying that America is bad for wanting to do that. America can do what it wants to do with its own lottery system, and you are not required to participate. You don't have to participate. So if you don't like the fact that they're collecting your data, don't participate. It's as simple as that. So that's the whys, the why they're doing this. So pros and cons. I do believe, I agree with the government that this would reduce the fraud and exploitation that we see with the program. But it will raise the bar to enter the lottery. A lottery entry is supposed to be free and simple. Agents charge people for helping them with the lottery entry sometimes. But really, it's a very simple process. It takes 5 to 10 minutes to enter the lottery each year. The lottery period is open in October of each year, And if you're smart and you know what you're doing, you answer 10, 15 questions or so, and it's a very simple process to enter the lottery. It doesn't cost anybody anything. However, now you will have to get a passport before you can enter the lottery. There are many people that don't have a passport before they enter a lottery today, so that's another major change. And what will happen is that if they implement this new proposed change, which I think they're going to, if they implement this change for this October, we'll get to October and people that haven't seen this video or haven't heard about this new requirement will not be able to enter the lottery because they won't be able to obtain their passports fast enough. And you know, at that point, there's nothing they can do. There's a 4 or 5 week window of opportunity to enter the lottery. If people find out too late, they're not going to get in. So I do believe that if they implement this new rule, that 15 million entries or 25 million people that normally are in the lottery will be massively reduced by several million people, I would imagine, this year. I guess you could see that as a positive thing for the people that are in the lottery this year. They'll have improved chances. There'll still be 50,000 green cards available, and there'll be less people going for those 50,000. There'll be less fraud. There'll be less people who are entering, and so it's a positive thing for the people that know about the new regulation and have their passport ready. But it will exclude some other people in perhaps some of the poorer countries. So there are definitely some upsides and downsides to it. As I mentioned before, this is America's choice. We can't suggest to America that they're bad for doing this, although they have actually asked for public input into the decision-making process about this. And I'll go on to that in a moment. So what are your thoughts? Do you think this is a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? I'd really like to hear from people to see what they think about this new proposed change. There is a public website on the Federal Register where people can make public comments, but I really would like to hear from you. Leave me a comment either at this YouTube site, leave me a comment below, and I'll get back to you. I'll answer as many of those as I possibly can. I'd really like to hear from people whether you think this is a positive thing or do you think it's a bad idea? Do you think that America is being unfair? You know, I'd like to hear from you. Also, please do subscribe to my channel. You'll be noticing over the next few weeks I'm going to put out a number of new videos which will explain the diversity visa process. My blog is one of the better places, I would say, on the internet for getting information about the green card lottery. And I have literally hundreds of articles that will help you through the process if you are a winner. But do subscribe to my channel here on YouTube to get updates over the coming weeks and months, particularly as we lead up to DV 2021, which is going to go ahead. So this new proposed change will probably be in place by DV 2021. And other than that, there isn't a change to DV 2021. There is no political plan at the moment to stop the lottery, but they are going to enhance it in this way, I'm pretty sure. So do go ahead, click the link, I'll leave it below, go to the Federal Register and leave some comments there, or as I say, leave some comments below. Be really interested to hear what you think. Okay, thanks for listening. Have a great day.